Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today I'm excited to be joined by Bill Wilson, founder and lead coach of Pace Pricing, a B2B SaaS pricing agency dedicated to helping founders price with confidence. Bill is a two-time SaaS founder who exited both companies before turning his focus to helping other SaaS entrepreneurs unlock revenue they don't even know exists using his proprietary Pace pricing system. Bill, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
I'm excited to have you here too, and I'm excited to dive in and learn more about your journey. So typically with all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind taking me back briefly to what it was that you was doing before you started up Pace Pricing, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, sure. So before I was running Pace Pricing, I had a SaaS startup, and it was called SalesRight, and it was focused on helping B2B SaaS companies quote. So it was basically a way to produce interactive quotes that looked an awful lot like a pricing page. And so that's what I was doing before this. And we were acquired in 2020 during sort of all the frothiness that was happening in the market at that time. And we were acquired by a company out of California called FastSpring. And so I stayed with them for a little while, but after that, I decided to do something else. And I wasn't really sure what that was going to be. But I had spent an awful lot of time thinking about pricing and packaging and helping other founders. And I did that through just regular conversations and my own sales conversations that I was doing for SalesRight. Every time I had a discovery call with someone trying to pitch them our wares, the conversation would always naturally turn towards their pricing, and they would always ask me what I thought of their pricing. And so I realized there was kind of a gap in the industry. There seemed to be a lot of fear and uncertainty and all kinds of things going on with SaaS pricing. And rightfully so, I think. There's a lot of things happening there. Yeah, so that's what I was doing beforehand, and that's why I started. So I started off by one-on-one coaching, B2B SaaS founders through another organization. And then I decided that I wanted to build my own practice, and been doing that ever since. It's been great.
Love it, taking it from there.
Yeah.
So really finding like a little hole, as you say, like a pocket of genius where you could really like get your knowledge in there and really help people. And often, obviously, I speak to a lot of coaches, founders, not so many SaaS, but it's something that I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and founders struggle with is that price point. They often tend to undervalue themselves. I'm not sure if that's kind of the same experience that you're feeling in your field as well.
Yeah, I mean, for everybody I talk to, the question they always ask is, how much should I charge?
Yeah.
Which is kind of not really the right question at some level. It's often not about the actual price point, but it's more about how you actually, construct the offer, and what you actually charge for is more important than what you actually charge. And so it's usually that's the first sort of unlock that we get to when we're digging into pricing. It honestly, price points can be figured out. It's less, I don't want to say it's less interesting, but it's certainly not where the strategy comes from. It's not
Okay.
a spreadsheet, right? It's all the rest of it. It's all the human psychology, it's all the product pieces, it's all the positioning, it's all that fun stuff mixed together to create pricing. And I really think that's why people have such a hard time with it in general,
Mm.
is that, it's the thing that glues you together with your customer. It's
So
that,
true.
the contract between you and your customer is kind of bound by a price point. Whether we like to admit it or not, we think it's all these other things. But price is a very, very important part. And people hate tinkering with that once it's been set. And because they fear that they're going to break the relationship. And usually that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, interesting. So let's dive into that a little bit more then. So obviously mainly working with SaaS entrepreneurs and founders themselves, but walk me through like what is it like to work with you? So how is it that you support them and what offers do you provide to them now?
Yeah. So for me, I'm a big productized service fan. So I've run, an agency that built product and designed product for other people. I've run a SaaS company, and now I'm running this company. But when I first started running my first services company, I quickly realized that selling by the hour was kind of terrible.
Yeah.
Um, and we, rapidly pivoted towards productized service. So when I started this company, I naturally wanted to do the same. And so we have three offers. They're all productized at varying levels of uh, depth or mm, lift, I guess I would say. And so the pace pricing system, which is the sort of the flagship piece, it is designed to tear your pricing model down to the studs and rebuild it all, complete with validation with existing customers, the market, the whole works. And it's quite a big endeavor, usually for companies that are a little further along and they've got a lot more at stake and really need
Yeah.
to nail it. We do a thing, what I call the fast track, which is more of a leans into the founder intuition and the team's intuition a bit. And we do a lot of work. We still do a lot of research and customer interviews and things like that. But then when it comes to the packaging and work, we do that together in workshop format, which is a lot of fun. And then, of course,
Okay.
we validate that on the back end. And then for really small engagements, for people who just, I don't want to say pick your brain, but need something a little more structured, but very quickly, I offer a thing
Yeah.
called the pricing strategy review. It's a very small engagement, um, you know, less than a couple $1,000s. It's very, very fast. They can get booked and done on the website in no time. And so we have those three sort of offers. You want to
Mm.
say good, better, best, I guess you could say. Um, but honestly, and then the other one we do is it is more of a coaching role, more of advisory, where I come alongside and I help the companies experiment. So I kind of sit in that seat between product positioning and sales and help them guide through all the pricing experiments they would do. So that's a little bit more hands-on. I like those because I gets to lean into my unique ability, which is being in a room full of, being in the boardroom and helping executives
Yeah.
figure these things out. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how we structure things today.
I love it. And so you've literally got the four tiers, you said, well, the three and then obviously extended one. So
Yeah.
really catering to everybody within the market and trying to help obviously as many founders as possible. Do you have like a certain TAM or a certain level of business or company that you like to work with, or is it just whoever needs the service?
It's interesting. That's changed more and more. I'm very, um, of course, there's a bunch of firmographics that make sense, right? Certain amount of revenue, certain size of team, certain markets are more fun than others. But honestly, it comes down to the people I get to work with mostly, right? And as I lean into that more and more, that idea of having the freedom of relationship, like I can choose who I get to work with is really powerful. So, but that's probably not what you wanted to hear. But the firmographic side of things would be, um, anybody from, say, I would say 5 million up to, 100 million. We do a lot of work in the 10 to 60 range.
Yeah.
So we do that. And then for the pricing strategy reviews, like I'm a pricing advisor for the New Zealand government, for example. And so they send me all kinds of companies that are, trying to make inroads into the United States, and they're all varying sizes. But those are
Mm.
all pricing strategy reviews, very small engagements, but they're a lot of fun because I get to work directly with the founding teams. So they could be at any size almost, for that. So I've
Huh.
helped everybody from super early stage to multi-generational software companies. Um,
Incredible.
yeah.
Amazing. So big stretch. And it's nice that like founders at all level have access to the service as well, because even as a startup, it is a ball game getting your head around what you should be charging people, what's acceptable, what isn't, and just really where the value is from the product. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Bill, walk me through then. So how do you go about acquiring your customers? So in terms of like strategies, platforms, what are you finding most effective for yourself at the moment?
Yeah, for me, I'm primarily, I would say, like largely a solopreneur, right? Like I'm just sort of on my own. I do have a great bench of contractors that I work with for various
Mm.
roles. But the thing that works best for me, since I'm sitting in the product sales and marketing seat, of my own company,
With
the
the
thing that
hand?
works best for me is LinkedIn, right?
Okay.
Creating content on LinkedIn generates a lot of leads. I do pricing page teardowns. Is one of my favorite things to do. So I'll do a video, I'll post it on LinkedIn about me tearing down someone's pricing page. And people like that because everybody can get something from it. I even have people who own, like friends of mine who have, like, they own cafes. And my wife's really good friends with her. And she says all the time, she goes, I saw Bill on LinkedIn today. It's so engaging. I have no idea what he's talking about. It's so engaging. They love it. So it's like somebody can get something out of it, you know? So
Yeah.
those work really, really well. And I get to dig into the things I really like. And, I'm opinionated. So I get to show off some of that. So that works really well for inbound. And then from there, it's a pretty, probably a pretty typical process, I would guess, for consultants. So we do a bit of a discovery. I want to get into why now and what their challenges are and what they're actually trying to accomplish. And then figure out if I, A, can help them, or B, want to work with them. And
Yeah.
from there, we'll decide on what the next step is. And that's usually, for me, I usually kind of go from that inbound to the first meeting to usually a proposal. Now, sometimes I'll go with a second meeting depending on other stakeholders, but usually directly to a proposal because we figured out what they need and want, and we've talked
Yeah.
about it on the call. And yeah, I use a proposal tool called Proposify. I have a great template, put it all in there, send it off. And then after that, once they sign, everything is automated after that in terms of like kicking off the project and getting it started and creating all the infrastructure that we need to run it. So that's um, that's something I've really leaned into operationally, is just
Yeah.
automations and trying to leverage it as much as I can.
Love it. It's a very streamlined system as well, which obviously helps with you being pretty much a solopreneur. It's nice to have a good operation system behind you just to keep the streamline, the consistency coming through, and then obviously not so dependent on your time as well. And then with
That's right.
regards to LinkedIn, so do you run any form of ads across LinkedIn, or is it just purely like, as you say, putting out your content, being authentic and
Yeah,
inbound
just
from there?
content inbound, word of mouth. Like my clients refer
Yeah.
me to other people. I do a lot of work for funded startups. So their VC or their board will see a lot of the work that we produce because they'll present it to their board and they'll ask who did it. And then I'll get pulled in that way. So that's an interesting loop of distribution, is the boards of the companies that I work for oftentimes will generate business for me. Um, but
I
yeah, it's
suppose that they
definitely, sorry, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I suppose they move around as well. You often get like one company come here and then they move
Mhm.
to the next one. Bill, we're gonna bring you across as well.
Yeah, I've actually I've done, for some startups, I've done their pricing like three times. Like I've done over like 6 years, I've done,
Yeah,
their pricing three times, and others I've worked with the same founder several times in different companies. And
love
so
it.
that's always fun. Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, it's really
And
nice.
that's must be like the highest form of a referral as well if they keep coming back and then even come
Mhm.
back with a different company later on, it's
Yeah.
just shows like the work that you put in is really, really
Yeah.
pays off for them. And then I suppose what are your plans moving forward then, Bill? So like what do the next 6 to 12 months have in store for you? Are you planning to scale the business? Do you have like an end goal in mind? What is your vision?
Yeah, I mean, I want to, the challenge. So I built, um, three companies now, and this time I'm trying to, I'm trying to build it as big and as efficient as I can on my own shoulders. It's
Okay.
kind of interesting. So I did go down the path in 2023, 2024, where I was like, you know what, I'm going to build a big durable business again. And I started hiring people, and I had full-time staff and the whole works. But um, my unit economics just didn't work. The amount of time and effort that goes into these projects is a lot, and
Mm,
calendar time doesn't always equal effort time. And the number of projects we could handle at one time didn't math. So we thought we could handle more than we could, and we couldn't. So it just wasn't working that way for me. And then I also realized that I was kind of resisting it because I didn't really want to really do it. I really wanted to see if I could do it on my own. So um, my goals over the next 6 to 12 months are hopefully to double the size of the business. I want to get it into, a couple $1 million, which would be great. I plan on continuing to build out the bench of people that I work with. And I really am leaning into the relationship side and collaborations. So, one of my favorite ways to work is to come alongside a company and be that fractional pricing person with them, and participate in the upside of their company. And so I'm optimizing most of my time for that kind of work, and it's been incredibly rewarding, and both for my soul and for my pocketbook. It's been really good. Yeah.
I like that. So yeah, making the most of the system and keeping the team streamlined must be a nice avenue as well, just less pressure on yourself because it is a different ball game when you are managing a team of 20 compared to two or three, for example. or even
Yeah, I
plus?
mean, in my agency, we had, I don't know, I think at our peak we were about 30 people. It wasn't huge, but still it's a lot.
Yeah,
And it's a big machine to keep feeding, right? And
100%.
for this time though, what I've really leaned into is trying to figure out how to do it fractionally in a non-hourly approach. So
Yeah,
since we systematize and productize everything, we know exactly what more or less goes into each one of these projects. And so, there's a data analyst role, there's a researcher role, there's, the strategist role, there's all these different roles, and they all have different levels of effort. And so over a year or so, of year and a half of doing a bunch of those projects, I was able to sort of streamline that down and say, okay, cool, here's all the expectations. These are all the things you have to produce. It's almost like productize the role.
mm,
And so I
yeah,
just I get to work with some really cool people that like to work in that way, that are very much okay with a flat rate approach. So I build my margin into every single one of my projects, and that's sort of the approach I've taken, which I don't think it's novel, but it's not something I had done before, because
yeah.
I always took the approach of building out the team and going with an employee version as opposed to a contractor version.
Yeah, the contract version it's better, and it's more like it's just very it's a lot more easier to I can't speak at the moment. It's more consistent to sell. So as you say, it's more like a product that you're selling. So for scalable, and then obviously being alone, it just makes it so much more streamlined than that hourly
Mhm.
rate where you have to keep bartering for your hours and you've done this and you've done that. It's just bish bash bosh. This is what it is.
Yeah,
Take
that's
it.
exactly what it is. It's
Yeah.
it's hey, are you up for this project? This is what it is. Here's the client, this is what it looks like. This is what we're looking at. Are you in? Are you out? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And if they have the capacity to do it, they'll do it. And if they don't, they
Love.
don't. And that's why I try and have a couple of really good people. I worked with one guy for quite a long time, probably one of the best analysts I've ever worked with. But he was also working more or less a full-time gig with someone else. And it was getting too much for him. So he's just like, yeah, just put me on the bench for a while,
Yeah.
and so when he's available again, we'll start working with him again. But no harm, no foul. It all tends to work out. So
Yeah, awesome. And then, I mean, in terms of like taking that next step for yourself and scaling the business, where are you finding the biggest challenge in making that happen?
oh, consistent marketing, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, like me actually. So when I get into delivery, like it's the same story as lots of small, consulting companies, right? Feast or famine. And when you're heads down delivering for clients, the last thing you have time for sometimes is the actual part that keeps the engine going for later. So continuing with the content engine is probably the hardest part for me, and has been probably since the summer.
Yeah.
It's been one of the biggest challenges. So doing that, and yeah, I would say it's probably the biggest bottleneck, and of course, making sure that I'm picking work that um, leans into my core values. You know, uh,
Yeah.
making sure that I'm fulfilled on those things. So I'd say it's the biggest thing is just making sure I can keep track of those two competing forces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your marketing hat on and then from there move it across. But having the luxury of picking who you want to work with is the beautiful thing, you know? And even with that being said, you said it earlier on in the podcast, but it has to be a good fit on both sides. If you're not on the same wavelength, if you're not in the right place, it's going to be a waste of time for everybody.
Yeah.
So
I've definitely
it's
been brought in to be the argument settler on companies, and while it could be fun, it's not exactly what I want to spend my time doing. Is I see, two sides of the business, and the only reason they brought someone like my company in was to,
prove a point.
just settle the argument and
Yeah.
somehow. And I'm just like, that's no fun. You know,
Literally. It's
I
not
don't want
fair
to be
on
the
Bill.
arbiter. I don't want to be the arbiter of your internal debates. You guys figure
I'm
it
not a
out.
marriage counselor here, guys. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
I can present data, but as we all know, you can torture data into telling you whatever you want. So
Yeah. And Bill, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you and connect with you if they want to do so?
yeah, the best place is probably LinkedIn. I'm WDR Wilson on every platform, but if you search for Bill Wilson pricing on LinkedIn, you will find me. Um, Other than that, would be pacepricing.com.
Beautiful, amazing. And thank you again for joining us. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future by wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales, and marketing efforts. Visit Closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we will see you on the next one.